Welcome back to our vector practice. We're going to do a vector trace now, and I'll pick up where I left off. I'm going to close out of my Valentine's, and I'm just going to hit the new button that's up here for new file. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go online. I'm going to open a new tab here, and I'm going to search for some kind of animal. I'll do something easy. I'll search for a bat, and I'll go to images, and I'll find a bat shape. Now the idea is to not use a vector bat like a graphic already. The idea is to try and use a real, kind of a real shape to kind of trace so that you're making your own vector graphics. And the idea of vector graphics is that they're resolution independent, that they save with transparency, and you can scale them to any size. So that's the whole idea of working with vector graphics here. So, you know, whichever one I wanted, there's a lot here that look kind of neat, and I don't know, maybe I'll try this one here. Now that looks like a really big file as far as size, but I'm just going to trace it. So I'm gonna right click and download it, and I'll do save image as. Since it's an image, I'll do save image as, and I'll just call it bat. And I'll even put download just so I know it's the one that I downloaded. And I'm going to save it in here in the same place. I'll save it in here. Now I'm not going to go into my Warren or anything. I'm going to go back to Vector, and I'm going to upload it here. They have a little upload image, and I'm just going to go find my bat. And it should keep it small enough to fit in that area. Maybe going to make it a little smaller. And I'm going to trace that and see it has an image layer, and I might even lock it so that I don't accidentally click on it. It'll just make things a little bit easier. And we're going to use a new tool called the pen tool. So far we edited shapes that we already had. We're going to kind of freeform this, and we're going to use the pen tool. And the idea is to kind of make not a lot of little anchor points as you go around, but just at certain important points so that you can kind of bend the path in between them. And the way this works, I'll just do it aside of the bat. If you click on here, basically the way this works, it's kind of a connect the dot kind of thing. You could kind of go around here and do any kind of shape, and the idea is go back to where you started to kind of make a closed shape, because then you could give it a fill, then you could give it some kind of fill. And again, just like any other shape, you could double click on here, you can double click on these things, you could start working with these things and do all kinds of stuff with it. And that's the idea, to kind of customize your shape that you're creating here. Now this bat should be pretty easy. So I'm going to click on this and delete it, and I'm going to trace the bat. So I'm going to go here, and you can draw curves as you go, but I'm just going to click just real kind of basic areas. I'll go up here. Now I'm going to exaggerate the ears right now, so they're kind of longer. And notice I'm just putting a point here, a point here, a point here, a point here. I guess I could put a little foot-looking thing down here. I'm not going to draw the little feet kind of thing. And then here, and then here. So I didn't make many anchor points. Actually, if I turn this off, you can see that's what I drew. So it's very simple. And again, I did that by actually turning off the eyeball, turning off the visibility of the graphic. So I'm working on the path now, and I'm going to want to double click on the path. Now the path has no fill right now. It only has a stroke, so you even might want to change the color of the stroke as you're working on it. It just might be easier to kind of see it if it's not the same color as what you're working on in the background. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here and kind of work around, starting with this side. And what I'll do is I'll double click here, and it kind of rounded it off. Now what happens here, that's rounded off almost perfectly. That looks good, except here it's going up, and if I try to put that down, it's going to make the other side go up. So I'm going to leave that up and hold Command, and then kind of bend it down. And then even in here, some of these I'll just move. I don't have to really do much. You know, if you did want to double click and kind of make the ear, you know, kind of round it like that, you could hold Command or Control and then kind of bend it around so it almost looks like a horn kind of thing on there. And I'll scroll over just a little bit. I'll move this down. And I'll keep it kind of straight going across. Again, I'll double click here. Now it's kind of hard to get in. These are really little. I can't even get in. I'd have to zoom more to get into the anchor point, I think, because they're really close to them. there I could kind of pull that out a little bit, and then I could hold Control or Command and then kind of bend this and give it almost like a little horn kind of shape there. And I'll pull this in, and then I'll zoom out a little bit, and I'll double click on here, and I'll bend this down. I'll even exaggerate it going down a little bit. And now of course that made the other side go up, so I'm going to go up there, and I'll zoom out again a little bit. Now if I want this to come down, the other one already is going down, so I need to hold my modifier key, the Control or Command, and bend that down a little bit. And then as I go around here, I'll do the same thing. I'll double click here, I'll bend this in, and then hold Control, and then bend the other one in to give that kind of like scallop shape. I'll even exaggerate it a little bit. And I'll keep scrolling over, and I could go to this one probably and double click. That way I could bend this one in and leave the other one alone, almost with one handle like that, and I could grab this, and then I shouldn't have to do anything with the other, although something happened here. Let me see what happened here. Something, oh, the handle here is like really extended, so I'm going to hold Command to kind of bring that way back in, because I don't want that handle there anymore, so I have to bring that handle back. And now I could bring this thing kind of back to here. I'm not going to do anything with his feet. I could double click here and round it off a little, even pull these in slightly. They don't have to be that rounded. And even if I wanted to, I could hold Control or Command to kind of bend it in there, and then move the other one, bend them kind of independently, so it gets to like a point there. And then I'll double click here, bend one side in, hold Command or Control, and bend the other side in. I'm working on a Mac, so I'm holding Command, but if you're on Windows, you'd be holding the Control key. And then the last piece here, I'll double click here, and I'll have to put this one back, but then I'll hold Command, Control, and make this one come back. So I think that's everything. And you could add all little things, you could add little detail stuff. I'm not going to do that now because I just want to, you know, go over the basics of this vector art. But the idea is that you're creating this artwork that we're creating with anchor points. The points are called anchor points in these line segments, is that they're resolution independent. You can make them as small as you want or as large as you want, and they'll never lose quality. And they're meant for flat colors, so they're not meant, you know, to have all these details. You could just basically fill this thing with, you know, with black. You could put a gradient in here, even if you wanted like a linear gradient, and kind of click on here, and you don't have to have it white to black. You know, even on this side here, you could kind of go like just kind of dark, so it just has a little gradient. You could throw eyes in there if you wanted to. You could even, you know, throw little circles in there and make these kind of little eye things if you wanted to. They look a little hokey. They look a little hokey, but they're okay. So there's eyes, and notice it shows ellipse, ellipse, path. So the path was the bat that I drew, and I want to take away that stroke. It has like a pink stroke on, so I'll just uncheck that right now. And I'll zoom out, and there's my bat. And I don't really need this image. I kind of turned it off so I couldn't see it. So there's my bat. Oh, look at that. See, I could animate it going back and forth. But anyway, that's my bat right now. And then what I want to do is I'll go over here to where it says File Settings, and I'll just call it bat, and I'll do Save File Name. And what I'll also do is I'll export it. And now keep in mind, if you go here, this will show you, your profile will show you all the things that you've worked on. And I'll go there before I finish up. But what I want to do first is I want to export this and download it, and then also upload it to my warrant. So I'll go here. Now before we were just using this URL, and that's almost fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to change this from SVG, because my warrant won't like using SVG. It won't let you upload it. That's actually a scalable vector graphic, and that's actually, we'll keep it in vector format. If we save it as ping, it actually won't be vector. The finished file won't be in vector, but for what we're doing, that's okay. But if we wanted to keep it in vector and you wanted to open it in Illustrator or something like that, you would keep it SVG, or you'd use it in the web on SVG. But right now, we're to just turn it in, just so I could see that you worked with the drawing tools, just save it as a ping file, and then you'll use download. Now when you download, it doesn't give you a place to download it. It just downloads it right to your download. So just do that. So ping, and then download, and it's going to be called bat.ping. It'll be in your downloads. And then I'm going to go to my Warren, and then I'm going to upload a file, and I'll have to go through that whole process again. So I'll choose File, I'll upload, I'll go find it in my downloads. I'm looking for bat. There it is. I'll hit open, I'll insert, I'll add file, and then I'll turn it in. And there's my bat. So then I could click on and see my bat. So that's the way you're going to turn it in. So one file is going to be uploaded as a ping. The other two practice files, you'll just copy the URL and put them in there so I could click on them. So that's what you're going to do for this exercise. And when I go back here, just one thing just to point out when I close this is that when you go to your profile, if you click here on this arrow, you could see other files that you've worked on. You can see other things that I was messing around with. There's a dinosaur that I did and a bat and different things. So it'll keep all, there's another bat that I did, and I did a buffalo. So you could always go back and open these up and work on them again, and that's part of your profile. So I'll just hit the back button here. So it kind of saves things here, and you could go back and work on it. It's kind of a nice free tool to kind of experiment with vector graphics a little. I wouldn't say it's a professional tool, but it's a good tool to kind of, you know, experiment a little bit with and get familiar with vector graphics before working with a professional tool like Illustrator. And there are some other ones that also do vector tools as well. So I'm going to stop there for this exercise. So if you weren't in class, hopefully this video will help you out.